Some of the very pressing things that I've been investigating lately is the state of the world, the rapid advancement of technology, the use of artificial intelligence in faculties such as war, the shift of power. Industry leading companies might not be in the position of power unless they rapidly innovate, especially during this season, because we have exponential growth in terms of the access to information with generative AI, and how all of this is going to tie into where we will find ourselves in the next few years. The question is, how do you position yourself in a situation like this? My argument is, since information is readily available, information in itself is not valuable. In order to market yourself, or in order to position yourself in the best possible way, the idea would most likely be to solve problems. And not just to solve problems that could be outsourced or could be leveraged with AI, but to solve concrete problems. Problems that are linked to specific corporate challenges or business challenges. I personally think that the shift in the power dynamics, and by power dynamics I don't necessarily mean the ability to bully people, no. I mean power dynamics that is enabled by intellect, or the ability to solve complex problems. Because the introduction of stuff like AI, particularly generative AI with GPT and Grok, ensures that the playing fields are essentially leveled. Because as humans, we prided ourselves on studying and ensuring that we amassed as much information as possible. So by definition, if the distribution or the availability of information is such that everybody has access, it by definition devalues knowing the right things. Yeah, because in the marketplace you sell yourself by knowing the right things. But if this can be accessed through generative AI, for example, you would find it rather challenging, not necessarily challenging, but you'd find it not worthwhile to go through hours of preparation, reading research papers and understanding very complex topics. So from that perspective, evaluating the labor force, there are certain jobs that would be challenged for sure. Not necessarily in the sense that people would be laid off, but particularly in the sense that people who hadn't performed well, the organization might not have use for them anymore, because the productive potential of those who worked particularly well without AI would be drastically improved with the use of AI, essentially. And by this I mean generative AI. I'm actually quite marveled by the evolvement and the improvement of generative AI and the potential that it has in assisting with the global workforce and what we can get done in our productivity at a workplace, for example, or even as a business. When you're starting out a business, the ability to leverage generative AI to automate certain tasks is by definition an added advantage on top of what you already do, because what it does is enables you to be more productive. So with that said, I believe it is time to acknowledge that there's going to be change, and to acknowledge that the change that comes from here will be transformative, but it doesn't mean that it won't be inclusive. Because the idea would be that it could be inclusive change. The only challenge with this is money, wealth, moves. It has to move. So if generative AI is going to make multiple millionaires out of people, that wealth has to come from somewhere. And unfortunately, it's going to come from people who are not woke right now. And it's going to come from people who haven't really prepared for the new playing grounds that we're building with all of these platforms. To support my argument about the shift in power dynamics, or the shift in global wealth, or the shift in the distribution of wealth, I am going to argue that with transformative platforms like this, the ability to generate wealth would be particularly easier for people that did not have access, because the access to the correct amount or the right information was the pinnacle point, or was the focal point around which people who amassed wealth gained their wealth from, gained their statuses from. And if this information is available to the public, it gives a very fair chance for everybody to compete equally. But there's one challenge to this for people who are coming up. Obviously, they need to understand that getting to the top in the dominance hierarchy takes a lot of discipline, and the same information that they have access to, those people that have had the privilege to sit in those positions also have access to. Which then means that should they not take this advantage that they have very seriously, within 5 to 10 years, the playing fields will be completely different, because companies at the top needs to adopt. But what I really think is going to happen is big companies are going to crumble, giants are going to crumble, and small companies, little companies, startups are going to come up and rock up from nowhere, because they will have the ability to take advantage of what the market is offering right now, and they will have the advantage of being the underdog, essentially. So, quite interesting, but I really want to see what happens.